Illegal mining is now becoming a growing problem across the country. At least 39 suspected illegal miners were found dead in the past 24 hours. 31 of them, believed to be Lesotho nationals, were found dead at an abandoned mine shaft in Welkom in the Free State. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy says investigations are underway. Meanwhile, police are investigating the deaths of 8 more people suspected to be illegal miners in Germiston in the East Rand. For more on this, we are joined now by Ernest Mulibana, the department's Director of Media Relations. Mr. Mulibana, thank you very much for speaking to us this evening. So 2 separate instances, not connected in any way as yet. Those investigations into both incidents still underway. Very little information in the public domain at this stage. I think one thing that's a big question is in the case in the Free State, why the period has been so long before any communication has reached South Africans. So the 31 miners who, we have very little information about because their presence is only reported by some of their colleagues, other illegal miners who brought 3 bodies to the surface and who allege there are still more bodies trapped in a mine shaft at this abandoned mine. And the information that they were supposed to have died on the 18th of May already, and that the Lesotho Ministry of Foreign Affairs communicated with the South Africa High Commission on around about the 10th of June. Where did the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy first hear about this case?
Good evening, Anlin. Good evening to viewers at home. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy received a report that at least 31 suspected illegal miners who, as you have said, are believed to be Lesotho nationals, have lost their lives in a ventilation shaft 5 in Virginia mine in Welkom in the Free State province. So the DMRE got to learn about this tragic incident sometime last week and has since been on the ground trying to establish means and ways to embark on a retrieval operation.
Tell us a little bit more about the complications at this mine shaft. We understand high levels of methane gas make it very dangerous at this stage, and hence nobody's able to go underground to see what the situation is or to retrieve bodies that might be down there.
So the information at our disposal at the moment tells us that the shaft that we are talking about here belongs to a company called Harmony Gold. They were going to use that shaft since late 80s, but due to an explosion which led to methane gas, they've had to abandon that work and therefore sealed the shaft in the 1990s. Therefore, the shaft has not been used and the mine has not been operational since 1990s. So it's been a very long time. So it is not a space that anybody ought to have been there at all. At the moment, our understanding is that the levels of methane gas are very high, so high that no human being, rather it is not safe for any human being to be in that particular space.
Can you tell us a little bit about plans to retrieve those bodies? Is the plan just to wait out and wait until the methane gas levels drop? Is there some way to ventilate that methane gas so that investigators could have access to that shaft?
So we are working with the mine owner, Harmony, and we are also working with Mine Rescue Services, and mine owner Harmony will be conducting tests and further assessments on the level of methane gas in that particular space, and those tests will be able to tell us what can possibly be done in terms of access to the ground of that particular shaft. Inspectors from the DMRE have been to the shaft, have been to the area, and have assessed the situation and found that it is quite risky for anyone to go down at this current moment. But with the tests that the company and all the different stakeholders were involved in this operation, we will at some point in time be able to determine whether we can go down or we can continue to explore other possible options.
In the last year or so, South Africa's massive problem with illegal mining has come to light. Several incidents, receiving a lot of attention in the media. We all know the case where, a crew producing a music video, a number of women were raped by illegal miners. We know about firearms retrieved by the police. We know about shootouts. And the situation seems to be very volatile. Even our reporter on the scene in Welkom was told by police that they could not be close to the scene where these 31 miners are believed to be trapped or have perished underground because, of the amount of illegal miners in the area and the fact that it is so unsafe because they are highly armed. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy has some high level of responsibility of working alongside mine owners to make sure that access to abandoned shafts simply is not a temptation for illegal miners. What's being done at this stage to try and address the situation with a level of critical urgency?
I think the starting point on this particular matter, Anle, is the fact that illegal mining is a criminal activity. We are unequivocal about that. Our Minister Gwede has been quite loud and clear about this, that illegal mining is a criminal activity, and as such, it has to be dealt with through the justice system, particularly the police. But in terms of making sure that temptations to get and try and open sealed shafts like in this case don't happen, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, working together with sister departments in the criminal justice system, including the police and the NPA, are working throughout to make sure that those who break any law in regards to mining are brought to book and are prosecuted. Over and above that, we have a program that deals with mine rehabilitation, which we as the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy implement through our agency called eNCA. So all of these are different initiatives that are aimed at ensuring that illegal mining comes to an end. But I must just also indicate that it is a criminality, and criminality must be dealt with through the justice system, and criminals must be prosecuted.
Unfortunately, though, that reactive approach does not seem to be working. We cannot simply pass the buck to the police and say, once the crime has been committed, now they must deal with it, and then it's no longer the department's problem. In terms of that mine rehabilitation program, here is a perfect example of a mine shaft that has been abandoned for more than 30 years. And it seems that people have easy access to it. We know that the Department of Home Affairs also has a role to play in terms of ensuring that our borders are not so porous as to allow criminals easy access into the country in the first place. But we have to look more closely at those mine rehabilitation programs to make sure that large companies making fortunes out of mining in South Africa put back enough money into the communities to safeguard communities, because ultimately it's the people living in the areas around these abandoned shafts who become victims of they get caught in the crosshairs when illegal miners have shootouts with each other, for instance, or with the police, or with legitimate miners. If enough is not done, the blame does fall squarely on your department.
I beg to differ on this particular one, especially with the fact that, rather with your statement that we are passing the buck. We're definitely not passing the buck to the police. I just alluded to the fact that you're working together collaboratively as government. You're suggesting that the mine that led to this conversation is an abandoned mine. Well, perhaps we could say it's a mine that was not used due to the fact that it was not safe to operate. So I wouldn't characterize it as an abandoned mine as you have. But in terms of the mineral and petroleum Resources Development Act, PRDA, all mine rights holders have an obligation to set aside funds that, as and when they are no longer mining, we should be able to deploy those funds to rehabilitate the mining activities that they must have conducted. So we, as the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, enforce adherence to rehabilitation by mine rights holders. And as we speak right now, the department, of course, through the MinTech agency, is working hard together with mining companies to make sure that unused mines are rehabilitated.
And in this instance, would it not have been wise in the past 30 years at some point to seal up or to close or to fill in, make completely inaccessible a mine shaft deemed too dangerous in which to continue mining?
I just said earlier, only that the mine we're making reference to here was not used. So the shaft that had been opened at the time was completely sealed. So as you can imagine, this is a criminal activity. Criminals can do all sorts of things. And one of the things that they've done here is to reopen that shaft, that dangerous shaft, and went down that shaft. Hence, some of them have tragically and sadly lost their lives.
Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Ernest Mulipana, Director of Media Relations at the Department of Mineral Resources.